Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Toledo, Director of the School for Visual and Performing Arts, and Director of the Bands, Dr. Jason Stumbo.
Thank you. Thank you. How about that band? Right? So, if you will, I'm going to just take a few minutes to advocate for this group, to share a couple of stories, and also share a goal with you that we hope you might be able to help us attain tonight and over the course of the next several months. First of all, if you talk to any alum from any college marching band from anywhere, and you ask them, what's one of your best memories from being in the band? You're going to get variations of the exact same answers. They're going to smile really big, and it's going to start something like this. There was this one time when we went to, yes, but there was this one time when we went to the Las Vegas for the bowl, and this happened. Or that time we took that 8-hour trip to wherever, and then you remember when that happened? It's always tied to travel, and it has something to do with getting away from campus and having a shared experience with your friends, with your family, away from home. It's something about that shared experience that when you have that, it creates these memories that you carry with you and you treasure forever. And it doesn't matter if that experience at the time seemed pretty negative or positive. It turns out being just a great memory. I want to share a couple stories with you real quick. I went to the University of Tennessee, I went to the University of Tennessee for my undergrad. So I was in the Pride of the Southland marching band. And we traveled a lot, and LSU and Alabama and Georgia, and we played in all these great stadiums. But one of my best memories was when we went to Notre Dame. And we played at Notre Dame in that historic stadium, which was awesome. But that game was late in the season. And I remember that it was incredibly cold in that game, uncomfortably cold. At Notre Dame, you sit on the field, right? The visiting band sits on the field. You don't sit up in the bleachers. And you're right on top of everything, and we see the Notre Dame band, which is just dripping with tradition and all that history. And I remember these guys, and I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Notre Dame band. I had no idea. I just knew it was Notre Dame. And there are these guys, Tiger, do you know this? There's a core of guys that are 6.5 feet tall and chiseled and big, and they wear those big Busby hats, right? And they're wearing kilts, and they look like clones of each other. And all they do, right, is as the band's on the field performing, this is their role, right? This is what they do. And it's impressive and awesome. I remember that. But I also remember being so incredibly cold, it was painful. And I really thought, I had 3 pairs of socks on, I could barely get my feet in the shoes, right? I was so prepared. But it was brutally cold. And I remember sitting there thinking, I'm gonna get frostbite, I'm gonna have toes surgically removed once I get out of here. This is horrible. But you know what? That's one of my best memories of being in the band at the University of Tennessee, was that being there in that space and sharing that with everybody else around me, because we were all incredibly uncomfortable at that game, right? When I came to Toledo, we traveled a lot at that time too, and I remember, and we have some of our alumni here tonight. Maybe you were here with me. If this story sounds familiar, please give me a shout. We went to Northern Illinois University, and it was late in the season again. It was getting kind of cold. It wasn't brutal cold like Notre Dame. But we go down to the field getting ready for halftime, and about 2 minutes before halftime starts, this thick fog starts to roll in, right? And it was incredible. And by the time we got on the field for halftime, you couldn't see anything. You couldn't see 5 yards away. I'm not lying. You could not see any. I don't know how we got through that show, because you certainly couldn't see the drum majors. And they're wearing white gloves, which doesn't help, right? And I remember looking at the video after that show, because we always have somebody up in the press box taking video of the performances. and it was just a blanket of white. And every once in a while, you'd see a colored flag kind of cut through the top of it, right? So I don't know how we made it through and did that show, but I remember that. I remember that experience. I also remember going to Ohio University. And many of you are probably familiar with the Marching 110, yes? Okay, there we go. All right. So I'm from Tennessee, so I was completely uneducated about that. But we go down to Athens. Yes, thank you, Athens. And again, it was cold. I don't know what it is about the cold stories, but the directors there and the students were great hosts. We had a great experience. And they invited us to come onto the field at the end of the show, or at the end of the game, because they always do a post-game show. They just park on the field and play to the fans. I was like, yeah, sure, I'd love to do that, Ricky. Thank you. And we go down there, and apparently everybody stays to see the post-game performance, right? Everybody. And all the students are coming around to the front to see this. And so we're side by side with the OU band. And so they start and they play, and everybody is screaming and yelling and just, yes. And then they kick to us. And before we start our first tune, the boos just start to envelop us. Boo! All the way through the performance. It's like, okay. When we go back to the OU band and they play, cheers, applause, they come back to us. Go home! Let the real band play. I mean, it was brutal. And I'm thinking, what did I just agree to here? But you know what? It's a good memory. I mean, that was a great experience, and I will always remember that, right? So my point here is the opportunity to travel and to have those experiences, no matter if at the time it sounded brutal and rough, or it was just a phenomenal experience, those things carry with us. And when we get together, and we had a reception here earlier tonight for about 30 of our Rocket Marching Band alum, and every time they get together, this stuff comes up. Hey, you remember back in '01 when we went to, those stories, it's a sense of bonding, right, with the band. And that's what we want to be able to continue doing with this group. And that's leading me to the next point, which is, over the years, it's gotten more and more difficult to do this, right? To give you some context, when I came in 2004, we have a budget, and we've been able to maintain that operating budget, and it's been great. The problem is we had 120 people in the band when I came here, and now over the years we've had well over 200. We settled back into 200, but the numbers have gone up, yet the budget has stayed the same, and we've been able to work within that. But as the years go by and things happen with budgets, it becomes more and more difficult to set aside funds to travel and to create those experiences for the band members. To give you an example, we took the full band down to Bowling Green this year. That was 5 buses. Was it 5 buses? 5 yellow school buses, right? $5,000 to transport the band 20 miles down the road to Bowling Green. If you do the math with 200, that's $25 a student, which doesn't sound like much, right? $25 a student, big deal. But when you put it all together with 200 of them, it adds up fast. Every year, we look at the coming schedule, and we look at wanting to try to take a trip someplace. This year, we wanted to take the band to Kentucky. The home opener, well, it wasn't, I'm sorry, not the home opener, but the first game of the season was at the University of Kentucky. That would be a great trip. What's like a 4-hour drive? 4 to 5 hour drive, go down, play the game, drive back, $15,000. Because we're not talking yellow school buses or something like that. We're talking coaches, we're talking meals, because it's an entire day, and it just adds up, 15 grand. So what is that? That's for 200 people, that's about, well, it's $100. Let's just say $100. It takes you to $20,000. $100 a person to make that trip. If we wanted to do it overnight, where we would roll in, let's say we go down on a Friday, we play a local high school ball game as an exhibition performance, or we stay overnight after Saturday and we play at maybe the Cincinnati Bengals professional football game on the way home, something like that. We're in the neighborhood of 30. So it's expensive to travel with the band. It's a big group, and it just costs. And more it's difficult to make those things happen. So our goal here is to start a culture of supporting the band so that we can take those trips and not just stay at home. The band is too good just to play at the Glass Bowl, which is a great place to play. Everybody loves playing the Glass Bowl, but we want to show this off, right? We're too good to stay in Toledo. We've always had great relationships on campus. Athletics is extremely supportive of the band and what we do. The administration has always been supportive of the band and what they do. They understand the time and effort that goes into it, and they also understand the value of having a good band because they're out there on the field. Thousands of people see the band, and it's part of the brand. And they get that. But budgets are what budgets are, right? And we have to work with what we have. And the one thing that we haven't done in my time here is really make an effort to reach out to our alumni, to reach out to our friends, and just people who love the band, and raise some funds to get these guys out of Toledo and to show them off any number of places. There are some games coming up. I think next year the Rockets travel to East Lansing to play Michigan State. That would be an awesome trip, and it would be a great venue to put this on display. That's going to be 15 grand right there. 2 years from now, I think it is. Notre Dame, but I don't think I think it's earlier in the season. I don't think it's going to be frigid like it was when I was there. But what another great, that's a one-day trip. It doesn't have to be an overnight. They're back, 15 grand. And again, if 200 people made a donation of $100, we're there. It's that easy and that simple. So tonight, how do you do this? Tonight, we have a table in the lobby as you're leaving tonight. And if you have any interest at all in making a contribution to help us do what we want to do and give these students those experiences that they'll always remember and to show them off, right, across the Midwest. There's a table out here, and Tony is working that table, and she's set up to take credit cards, she's take up cash, check, whatever. And at any time, you can go on your smartphone, and I just did it a little while ago, and it's 30 seconds to get to it. utfoundation.org, click on Give Now, and in the search box, just put University Band, and there it is. Super simple, super easy. So it doesn't matter how much. It doesn't have to be $100. It could be $50, it could be $20, it could be $5, it doesn't matter. Just help us raise the funds to get these students out there, to give them the experiences, alumni, the experiences that you had when you were traveling around and playing all over the place. So, thank you very much. Thank you for being here tonight. This is a great crowd. We really appreciate you, and happy holidays. Thank you.